Okay, in this assignment, we are going to learn how to do our first project in Google Docs, and that project's going to involve figuring out what some of the buttons do. So what we need to do to open our first project in Google Docs is to go to your drive, which is your file cabinet in the sky. So go to drive.google.com, and you should have something similar to this, except I have a lot more stuff in mine than you have in yours. Okay, so then once we get there, we're going to click on the New button because we want to make a new document. And these three icons right here are the software programs that Google wrote that is included in Google Drive. And the one we're going to look at is right here. It's got this little blue icon next to it. It's called Google Docs. Docs is short for documents. And the reason why you would use this program would be if you have an assignment that you're going to use a lot of words for. If you were going to use a lot of pictures or a lot of numbers, you would probably not use this program, but you are going to use a lot of words. So we're going to click on that, and it takes this probably about a minute to load completely. So you just have to be patient. You'll know that it's completely loaded when these words right here, file, edit, view, insert, when those are no longer gray, when they're black. Like mine's already loaded, but yours might take a little bit here for these to totally load. Okay? And so then you've got your, basically it looks like a piece of paper. Okay? And your blinky line here, we know that that's called a cursor. That shows you where you are on the paper. Alright? So let's just kind of take a look around here. First it says Untitled Document, which is a terrible name for this. We'll change that in just a minute. We see we have File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Tools, Table, Add-ons, and Help. We're going to go through a couple of those briefly, but just for me to point out Help, if you click on that, you can type in what your question is and then hit Enter, and it will, a lot of times, be very helpful in telling you where to find what you're looking for or how to do what you're trying to do. Okay? So then next, let's go ahead and look right here at these little icons, and notice that I'm parking my mouse on top of it without clicking on it. That's called hovering. And when you park your mouse on top of it without clicking, it will tell you what that button does. So obviously if I was ready to print, which I'm not, you could click on that to print. By the way, we're not going to print at school because the printer is not connected. This is probably my favorite button in the whole world, because if you do something and then think, uh-oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I spelled it wrong, or I need to go back, that's your undo button. And a lot of times you'll do something and then put your hand up and ask me, uh-oh, what do I do? And I'm just going to say, click your undo. And it's right there. Now, if you undo something and think, oh, I didn't want to undo that, I wish I hadn't undo that, you can redo. Okay? This one, the undo, is the one you use way more than the redo. Okay, this is the format painter. If you wanted to, copy the formatting that you had done and apply that to something else, you could click on that, and it's a paint ruler. We won't really be using it. I use that very, very infrequently. 100%. This is your view. Right now, it's saying the view for this is 100%. If you're an old lady like me and you need this to be like way bigger, you can put it on 150. Now don't go hog wild and put it on something ridiculous. Or if you needed to see like your whole entire page, you could put it down at 50% and you could see, all right, did that last sentence, where is that? So you could put your view in there. And also watch this. See how it only has 50, 75, 90. What if you wanted 60? As you know, dealing with computers, when something is blue, you can change it. Right now, my 50% is in blue writing, so I can click in, I can type in 60 and hit enter. Now I'm looking at 60%. If 150 was still too small, but 200% was too big, you could put in like 180%. So you can type in, if there's not something listed there that you wanted, you can type it in there and get like a custom size. Okay, so we know print, undo, redo, not going to use that a whole lot. Your paint formatting, not going to use that a whole lot. the view, you might use that kind of a lot. Now, don't be ridiculous and make it teeny tiny or enormous. Normal text, we're going to skip over that. Now, here's the next one, font. Font is the style of the letters. Okay, tell yourself that. This font is the style of the lettering. Right now, it's Arial. By the way, these are all listed alphabetically. So if you click next to that Arial and this little tiny arrow, you'll see that the font, here are the last few that I've used, right above this line. And here they are, Arial, Calibri, Cambria, Comic Sans MS, Consolos, and you can see, and you can scroll down here, you click on more fonts, and you can get more fonts. Okay, if you want to type those in there. But we're going to go, and I'll tell you which one of these to use. Now, we're not ready to do that just yet. Let's go ahead and move on. So right now, if we started typing, let's just say I typed out something, and I think, oh, heavens, the Murgatroyd, that's tiny. I could go over and I could make this be 125% view, but that didn't actually change the size of the letters. That just kind of did my zoom. Okay? If that's going to be too small, I can go back and say, oh, that's not going to work. I can click on this and say, all right, it was 11. I need 48. Now look, my cursor is way big. Here's what it was on 11. That's how big the letters are going to be. You can go down here to 48. And oh, it's a lot bigger. Okay? So that's changing the size of the letters. This is changing the zoom, how big or small it looks. Okay? Now, the next thing is, if you want to make something bold, you click on this button. If you want to make it italics, you click on that button. Underline is this one. And then this one is kind of confusing sometimes because it's the text color. But if you just click on that, you're going to get black. You have to click next to it to then pick your color. All right? This is align everything on the left side. Notice my cursor is on the left-hand side because it's align left. If you wanted it to be centered, you would click right here. Now watch this. My cursor just jumped over to the exact center. Now you might be thinking, you know what, I bet I could spacebar over there. Well, you could probably spacebar over and get it kind of close, but you're never going to get it exactly right. And let's go ahead and backspace, get rid of that. And if you type something else underneath it, it will continue to put it as exactly in the center. We don't really use this right align much, but you could do that. And this one just takes whatever is typed there and makes it take up the whole distance from right to left. All right, so I just threw a lot at you. So we're going to go ahead and put everything back how it was. And I want you to type your first and last name. Of course, you capitalize those. And leave your cursor at the end. All right, so your first and last name. Now, we have to select our text in order to change our text. You already know that. In the computer world, something has to be blue for it to change. And when it's blue, you can change it. So we need to select this. And the easiest way to do it is start at the end and select backwards. So we're going to click at the end and hold your mouse and go backwards and see that it's all now in blue. I'm saying I want to change this. You can go forward, but when you go forward, sometimes it speeds ahead and gives you way more. And if there's another one, I see I've already got an extra space at the end of my name. Okay, it gives you way more than you were meant to select. So click someplace else. Go to the end, and you can go backwards. If I only wanted Fletcher, then I would only go through Fletcher. All right, now with it all selected, we're going to go back and let's go to over here to our font, which is the style of the letters, and it has to be selected because now you're going to change it. If it's not selected and you change the font, then you didn't change anything. Okay, and we're going to go down to Comic Sans MS, and notice that it changed the style of the lettering. Okay, we're also with it still selected. Now, if you click somewhere, it just unselected that, so you need to click and hold your mouse, go backwards and select it again. And we're going to change it from size 11 to size 48, and look, it's huge. Okay, let's say, you know what? I don't think I want it to be 48. What if I wanted it to be 55? Well, 55 is not a choice there. Well, this is blue up here, so you can type in 55, hit enter, and you just made a custom size there. Okay. Now, if it's not selected again, select that. And we want to make it bold. Now, look how it is right now. And then click on your bold. And it just made it just a little bit thicker. That's what bold does. Okay. The I, the slanted I, is called italic. Go ahead and click on that. And it just kind of slanted it to the top right just a little bit. And go ahead and underline. Now, you can see, because those buttons are still pushed, you can see what we've done. We made it bold, we made it italics, we made it underline. We also changed the font, which is the style of the letters, and we made a custom font size that wasn't in there, 55. Now, the next thing is, if you click on this text color, it's just going to be black. In order to get the text color something other than black, you've got to click on that tiny little arrow next to it and make it red. You can click on that red, or you can click on that red. And it just made my name plus the underline red. And look, the cursor's even red. Alright, now the next thing is, this is a terrible name for a document because we need a document name to tell us two things. It needs to tell us whose assignment this is and what assignment it is. So we're going to click on the up at the top, and it automatically said, do you want to be named what I typed in the text? No, get rid of that. Notice it's blue. I can get rid of that. You want it to be your last name. If there's somebody else in the class with your same last name, then you need to also put your first name. And we're going to call this format, because all these changes that we just made is just called formatting. So we're going to call it Fletcher Format. Okay? And when you hit enter, that becomes the name of it. Notice that at the top here on the tab it says Fletcher Format. Okay? Now that's going to save automatically. We don't need to save it because it's already in your file cabinet. Next, I'm going to teach you how to turn that in for a grade.